Coming up next on Spectrum News, winter storm warning. Snow is piling up across western New York. What we can expect later on tonight and overnight. Plus, honoring heroes, a look at how veterans are being recognized across the country and here in western New York. Spectrum News starts right now. Good evening, everyone. I'm Fadia Patterson. The news is coming up right after a quick check of your weather on the One's forecast.
Winter storm warnings remain in effect for all of western New York through early tomorrow morning. But some of the hardest hit areas going to actually be the north towns, which is the opposite of what we typically see this time of year. And the reason for that is this is a widespread snow event versus the lake effect variety. And behind me on the satellite and radar, you'll notice how really it's filled in along the northwestern corner of western New York, but the southeastern edge still staying dry. That will change as we move throughout the overnight as some of this rain-snow mix starts to build in. But up until that point, really a tale of two cities tonight. For the rest of this evening, expect intensifying snowfall, and it's not until the overnight that the snow starts to taper off, leaving behind temperatures in the upper teens and low 20s. By the time we get to Tuesday, temps climb only into the 20s with lake effect flurries starting to develop. We'll talk more about that coming up in just 10 minutes.
Thank you, Kaylee. We're expecting the snowfall to get heavier in the next few hours throughout the area. We spoke to the Amherst Town's Highway Department, and they said that for now they're focusing on plowing the main thoroughfares, the most traveled streets. Then overnight after midnight, crews will focus on the rest of the town. They say it will take about 6 to 7 hours to get the rest of the town plowed. As for leaf cleanup, the department stopped picking up leaves at around 1 p.m. and plan to start it up again when the weather is better. They also say garbage pickup is not impacted by the snow. Off-street parking also remains in effect in the town. As the flakes fly, the city of Buffalo says crews are ready for whatever Mother Nature throws our way. Trucks were out salting ahead of the storm, and plow crews will be out in full force as the snow piles up.
We will have over 20 trucks out throughout the duration of the storm, and additional if necessary based on what ultimately comes. And I also want to say that, as always, our focus is first on primaries and secondary streets to ensure that we can have a safe and efficient commute. And then after that, we get into the residential streets.
City leaders are urging drivers to give themselves extra time and to take it slow. Winter parking restrictions in Buffalo take effect this Friday, November 15th. Garbage pickup is on schedule. And stay with Spectrum News on air and online at spectrumlocalnews.com for the latest on weather conditions and closures. Honoring the brave men and women who served our country. For this year's celebrations, the Buffalo Naval Park enlisted the help of its new neighbors at the Explore and More Children's Museum. 5 wreaths were laid to honor the armed forces. The wreaths are made with handprints from children who visited the museum's art studio and have personal messages of gratitude to veterans. This could be the last veteran celebration at the current space for the Buffalo Naval Park. It is in the middle of expanding its facility to provide more programming. And veterans were saluted at a ceremony at Russell J. Salvatore's Patriots and Heroes Park in Williamsville. This event is also a fundraiser to benefit the Jack H. Wispy Jr. PTSD Clinic for Men and Women and Center for Hope for Women. We spoke with a veteran who delivered the keynote address. He says Veterans Day is one of the only few holidays he celebrates.
I served with thousands of patriots, honorable people who are willing to sacrifice everything to make sure that our country remains free. And I can honestly say I'm sneaking up on 70 years of age, but staying with those soldiers, Marines, airmen, and sailors all those years kept me as young as I feel today.
The Military Order of the Purple Heart presented Salvatore with a Purple Heart flag to display in his park. In New York City, President Trump attended the 100th annual Veterans Day Parade. Thousands lined up along the streets showing their gratitude to the men and women of our armed forces. Each year, the parade gives a special place of honor to one branch of the military. This year, the United States Marines getting that tribute one day after the Marines' 244th anniversary of its founding. President Trump spoke before the parade stepped off, saying the sacrifice of veterans will never be forgotten.
We will ensure that righteous legacy of America's veterans stands as a testament to this nation from now until the end of time. To every veteran here today and all across our land, you are America's greatest living heroes, and we will cherish you now, always, and forever.
When veterans return home to Western New York after serving in the military, local services are ready to help them return to civilian life. The Veterans One Stop Center in Western New York says it's here to help. For the past 6 years, the Veterans One Stop Center of Western New York on Main Street has been a resource for thousands of veterans and their families. The One Stop Center offers a variety of free services that helps with anything from finding housing to giving veterans the tools to re-enter the workforce. Many services can be therapeutic for veterans, whether it's through photography classes, yoga, or equestrian programs. Families aren't forgotten either, with the children of the military and family caregiver operations. And while many veterans aren't used to asking for help, President and CEO Chuck Mara says they're always here to help.
Typically, veterans, they won't necessarily come to us because they're so well trained to take care of themselves, take care of their brothers and sisters. So sometimes it needs a little coaxing to get them in to see us. But when they are, there's a great deal of gratitude when we help them make that transition.
The Veterans One Stop Center is located on Main Street. It opens Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and in Lockport on Genesee Street. That's open from Monday through Thursday, also 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. The Buffalo-Niagara region will continue bringing filmmakers to the area. This September, a global film conference will be held right here, the Cineposium 2020. Buffalo-Niagara won the bid from the Association of Film Commissioners International. This announcement comes as the film industry continues to grow in the area. Just this past weekend, Coldbrook premiered at the East Aurora Theater. It was filmed in the area and directed by Cheektowaga native William Fichtner. And crews from A Quiet Place 2, including John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, spent this past summer here filming the sequel. The Cineposium 2020 brings industry leaders together to discuss creativity, policy, and more. The organizers for the event will also work with the Buffalo-Niagara Film Office to help bring even more economic development to the area.
Just in 2018 alone, it was close to $2 million in economic impact, and that's just the impact on while they're in town with 44 production days. The long-term residual impact goes for many years when we do host a film crew and there's a commercial or television show or movie that is presented later on down the road. The residual impact is huge. So
the Cineposium will run from September 16th to September 19th. More details will be released closer to that date. And now back to the weather. Kaylee, tell us what's next.
Our high temperature early this morning topped out in the upper 30s, but at this point, we're already falling through the 20s, which is well below our average, both high and low for this time of year. And in addition to the cold, of course, we're seeing the snow. And over the next several hours, it will stay moderate to heavy before we do start to see it taper off throughout those overnight hours. This is a look of that snow on our satellite and radar. And everything is pretty heavy at this point. There's not any spots that are seeing lighter snow versus heavy snow. The only exception down along the southern tier in both Cattaraugus and Allegheny counties where it remains dry. But that is going to be changing, again, as I mentioned, through the next several hours. Now, already I've gotten a lot of texts and calls about snow days for Tuesday, and it is possible, but the majority of the snow will be over by tomorrow morning. It's just the cold that's going to take the headlines for Tuesday. Temperatures in the morning start out in the upper teens and low 20s, and throughout the afternoon, that's where they're going to stay. And this cold does have the potential to break records. We'll talk more about that coming up in just 10 minutes in my next Weather on the Ones forecast.
Kaylee, thank you so much. We'll have much more in sports coming up after the break.